So the Xbox One Gamescom conference just happened, and with it came a slew of games. We got to see such titles as Rise of the Tomb Raider, Homefront: The Revolution, and Halo 5. But the one title that stood out among the rest was Scalebound. Coming from the company that is currently working on Star Fox Zero and the creators of Bayonetta 1 and 2 comes a game that tugs on the fantasy setting. Becoming a dragon rider is an idea that has never been fully realized, such as in the Drakengard series. But Scalebound aims to be much more than what you would expect, so we here at GameGods await in anticipation for more information regarding this title. But why wait when we can analyze? We're gonna pick apart the demo to see what we can find. We start off our demo with a seamless transition from menu to in-game cutscene. This may just be for the sake of good presentation, but it's still notably clean. These are undoubtedly the protagonists of Scalebound's story, Drew and his dragon Thuban. We see them fly majestically across the world that we're assuming is Draconis. We know Earth is somehow involved in this world via a parallel universe, as evidenced by the out-of-place nature of our main character Drew, as well as his earphones that seem more futuristic based than everything else, and the fact that Platinum Games is no stranger to parallel universes, as this theme is explored in the past two Bayonetta games. We are now introduced to the enemies of the demo, surrounding a structure that seems to be some type of stronghold. We think this stronghold serves as a way for players to conquer a given area, much like Far Cry or Shadow of Mordor, as well as a means for enemies to respawn, as it looks like that is what is happening here. Now from this angle we see something that may help establish more of the world: floating islands. It has already been stated that Scalebound is an open world game, so it would make much sense to use your dragon to reach islands that float off in the distance. Thuban lands, enemies are frightened, and we get some comedic banter between the two heroes. During this conversation we get a closer look at Drew, his dragon arm, and the scale on his chest. Not much can be drawn from the arm other than it may be used to order Thuban around, but the scale on Drew's chest resembles the same color that Thuban bears on his body. Is this where the title derives from? Is this the literal scale that is bound to Thuban? Only time will tell. Surprisingly, the soldiers don't actually know what the creature is, as you can hear twice declarations of unassurance.
Never seen a creature like that before! Don't panic! Team, unite up!
Our heroes prepare themselves to fight, and we get to see a glimpse into the gameplay mechanics. But before the actual fighting begins, we get a look at what is within the player interface. Starting from the top, we see a health bar that only pertains to Drew. As you watch the video, you'll notice that when Thuban takes damage, red numbers will show how much damage was taken, but the health bar does not drain. Underneath that, we'll have what we'll call a stamina bar. This bar drains in particular places in the video. Sometimes it is during or at the start of a combo, and other times it's a little unclear as to what drains the gauge. The only obvious time it drains is when Drew transforms, whereas the stamina bar acts like a timer. Further down, we have what looks like item slots. We are unable to tell what the left and up items do, but we do find out later that the right item is a kind of electric stun mine. To the right we have what looks like bomb arrows. Perhaps the slot is for longer range weapons like crossbows or guns, and below that we have a sword. Further below that, we have what looks like an empty equipment slot, with a dark outline that looks like a shield. We are confident to assume that these equipment slots represent your hands, lending to the possibility of other weapons, perhaps two-handed ones, like an axe or a hammer. First thing you'll notice as soon as the action begins is that each hit landed immediately reveals stats as to how much damage was dealt. Typically this feature is only present in RPG games where these stats are affected by the equipment, level, and elements you are currently dealing with. We then see the player command the dragon to destroy a stronghold, as evidence of the hand signal, the emblem that appears above the target, Drew's shout, and the crosshairs themselves dilate. Farther in, we can see a rewarding combo system in typical Platinum Games fashion. For the most part, chain combos gain skill points. Perhaps these skill points can be used to unlock new perks for yourself or your dragon. The battle against the soldiers is won, Drew reaps the rewards, and on the floor lies loot chest, and the player obtains a stun mine. Underneath that item, we see what looks to be like two item handicaps. 1, space and inventory, and 2, item weight. We don't want to say for sure that that is what these symbols stand for, because it's an odd thing to be hindered by items when you can ride a creature of great power. So Drew ventures off, Thuban knocks over a tree, and we're introduced to an area that we're currently at. Surprise, it's grassland. We do get to catch a small glimpse of this open world, as in the distance we see branching paths. But immediately, Drew and Thuban are then introduced to the next type of enemy, the Mantis monster. What is interesting about this fight and the previous one, and perhaps Platinum Games planned this, but when Drew was fighting the soldiers, Thuban took a backseat and dealt with the side problems of the fight. And now, fighting a giant monster, it seems the roles have shifted. Though this by no means is a factual thing, we'd like to think this will help build a pact between the player and his or her dragon. Now the fight continues, but Thuban does something interesting. He glows bright blue and unleashes a devastating attack. This actually happens more than once during this battle, and one could assume that Thuban would only unleash these attacks against foes of similar size. Of course, Thuban isn't the only one with tricks up his sleeve. As you'll see, Drew also transforms to dragon form, complete with his own attacks and finishers. The Mantis is slain, currency is obtained, perhaps to buy new gear, and we fade out with a roar of Thuban. It would seem that the demo is finished, but not before announcing that there will also be a multiplayer mode, where up to 4 players can play. What you'll do exactly remains to be seen, but there are still some bits of information that can be taken from the final segment. The most obvious is that the game mode may be to destroy one big creature, in a 4v1 type of gameplay. More noticeable is that when each character appears, so does their dragon, but each dragon bears a different appearance. We do, however, already know that there will be full customization of your dragon, including abilities and attacks, as well as cosmetic customization. Some official mentions is the winged serpent and the 4-legged tank. Now that's all we have regarding the presentation demo, but we here at GameGods were at the edge of our seats upon watching it first. Feel free to comment if we missed anything. We'll keep our eyes out as we wait for more information regarding Scalebound. So remember guys, for any other Let's Plays, previews, or reviews, keep it here on GameGods.